Hey guys, Happy Camper here, and we're back. I'm in Juneau actually today. I thought I'd go somewhere different because all we see is Bella Coola, so I thought I'd come here to Juneau. But I'm going to talk a bit about my setup today, my setup for flying helicopters and X-plane, or in DCS for that matter. But I mostly fly an X-plane because I find X-plane to be the best currently. Um, So let's get right into it. I'm also gonna talk a bit about learning to hover a helicopter in X-plane and learning to fly a helicopter, kind of the beginner steps. But we'll start out with the setup quickly. I'll set up an annotation to where to skip if you just want to see a bit about hovering the helicopter. Now, I guess the main part of your setup flying a helicopter would be your stake and collective, or what you use for that in real life. Now I've got the X56 Rhino HOTAS. That's from Satec, and I use that for my stake and collective, and I really like it because you can. It comes with 4 different springs as default, and you can remove springs and set a new one in, and they've got different lightnesses as to how easy or hard it is to move the stick. Now you can also remove the springs entirely and just not have a spring in your stick at all. Now, that's what I've got for flying helicopters, because I find any trim system for helicopters are quite annoying and unnatural to me. So I like to just fly without using the trim and just placing my joystick where I need it to be for forward flight. And I don't find it to be too big of a deal for helicopters because you're always going to be making inputs anyways. So if you're always going to have your hand on your stick in flight, you never want to take your hand off your stick. You can take it off the collective, but not on the stick. There's not really any point for me to really trim it out when it's such an unnatural way of doing it when doing it in on a stick that's meant to fly planes. Sorry. Now, a part of that is also kind of a dead zone issue. If you're, for example, hovering, you are going to be, and you have it. If you have a spring in and you're hovering, and you have it trimmed out, so if you have the stick centered, it's more or less going to be hovering by itself. You're always going to be making adjustments. But when you make those small adjustments, if you have a dead zone in the middle to counteract that small wobble that's going to be in the middle of your stick, if you have a dead zone there, you're going to be moving from the right side to the left side, and there's going to be a point within that where your helicopter's not going to be responding to what you do with your stick. Now, I really hate that. You can feel that with a helicopter because you need to make really small adjustments when doing these hovers, for example, and it's so obvious and it feels so weird, and you kind of lose that fine touch when you do so, when you have that dead zone. And if you don't have the dead zone, you're just going to be, your stick's going to be moving around and doing things that you don't necessarily want it to do very easily. And that way, I find it better to just leave no spring in and just have my hand on the stick all the time and move it around how I need it and not worrying about having to trim it out. My throttle, or in the helicopter, of course, a collective, I have it set so when it's all the way forward on my desk, the collective is all the way down. When I pull it towards myself, the collective goes up. And the reason, again, that's just personal preference, and I have it that way because that's how it would kind of feel in a helicopter, in the way that you'd be pulling the collective towards yourself to add collective, and to lower the collective, of course, you'd be pushing it away from yourself. So that's just kind of how feels the most natural for me. But of course, if you've been used to flying planes, fixed wings for a long time, it might be beneficial to just use it how you would use it in a fixed wing. I'm not entirely sure. For me, it's best to have it opposite a fixed wing throttle. I also use TrackIR, and TrackIR is probably the thing I'm almost happiest about in my setup, because it is so wonderful and so nice to be able to move your head around a 3D space, move down, look around, look for traffic, see where you are in the pattern. All of these things are so important and um, so cool to be able to do in X-Plane. It feels natural. I think I got track IR, played with it for 15 minutes, and after that it was natural. Barely ever, really realize that I'm looking around. It's just like moving my head in real life. Um, so absolutely essential, crucial for me, especially when doing helicopter flying, because you are, flying visually. You are doing VFR flights, and it's so important to be able to look around. And normally when flying around, it might not be too big of a deal with traffic and being perfect in the pattern. But if you're flying on somewhere like VATSIM, you're going to be looking around for traffic, and you're going to be looking around where you are in the pattern. So it is always so cool to be able to do these things smoothly and just follow an object, move around if you can't see anything from behind something. It's sweet. If you have an emergency and you need to auto-rotate into some spot, you've got nothing ahead of you, look at the right, there's a field, or look off to your left, okay, there's a field, or even behind me to my left. Anywhere where I'll be able to see a spot in a real-life helicopter, I can do it in the virtual sim really easily, really quickly, without really thinking about it. To control my track IR, I use X camera. I do that simply because the normal way of handling track IR for X-Plane is a bit weird. I don't like it too much. It's going to be centered down here, and even though you can move your fixed camera up to be centered, straight out, I haven't been able to center my track IR anywhere else, so it's just going to be looking down like this when I have my head centered. So X camera for track IR, I really like. The track IR limits are nice as well, that way you don't go back and go through your headrest and see yourself clipping through doors or something like that. That's just a small add-on. That's really nice. Now let's head out and let's just talk a bit about hovering in the helicopter and kind of the beginner's guide. So as I said earlier, I'm here in Juneau, in Alaska, and we just take off about the GA ramp, or one of the GA ramps here. We've got a pretty big open spot out here, so we'll try and come out here and do a bit of hover practice. Now, when learning to hover, you're most likely going to get into something called pilot oscillation. Now, what this is you feel an input, you see your helicopter starts moving forward, for example like that, and you instantly jink the stick back, and now you're going to move back, and you're going to jink it forward, and you're going to move forward. And every time you do so, it's going to be a bigger and bigger kind of input, and it's therefore going to get you in something crazy that's going to look like you're an absolute noob, and you're going to be moving around, like this, and you're going to hit everything, and you're not going to have any control. Now, to kind of counter this, because you're not going to be able to hover perfectly first time you jump in, you're going to have some trouble, and you're going to have to get used to the helicopter. Even if you're used to one helicopter, switching to another can be really difficult. But I like to, or what I try to do after experiencing the kind of pilot-induced oscillation upon trying to learn how to hover first time, what I tried to do was just kind of leave it to it, so to see what the helicopter did. So if I was hovering here, then it would maybe start drifting forward, and I would just kind of let it drift forward, and then I would really slowly kind of correct, and I would see, I'll just let it do its thing, then try and correct, see what it does then. Okay, so now it's going to start going a bit backwards. Okay, let it do it a bit. Make sure you have room, but just take it easy, take it slow, not worry too much about it. Okay, I've corrected for the backwards now. Now it's going to start moving left and right. Left and a bit forward. Just to counter that, just a little bit of right. And that way you're going to get a feel for it. You're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to be using a lot of space, and you're going to be moving around the entire field or wherever you're training. but you're going to get a feel for the helicopter and you're going to be able to see what it does. Because when you do that pilot-induced oscillation, you're not feeling the helicopter, you're just countering what you did yourself. You know, you're just countering that your previous input was too intense, and you're going to be countering that with another intense and another intense input. It's not going to allow you to feel and learn the helicopter. So if you just let the helicopter be, you know, see where does it go, what does it do, okay, counter that slowly, then stay on that stick input. Don't move your stick. See what it does. See if it goes backwards, if it goes left, if it goes right. And that way you're just going to learn what the helicopter does, and over time your brain is going to be able to just counter anything really easily, and it's going to be able to predict what the helicopter is going to do next, or what it's most likely going to do next. And that's what it's all about. It's all about being a step ahead of the helicopter, and it's all about being able to see what's going to happen. And it's not something you notice or, you know, consciously do yourself. It's something that's just gonna, your brain's just gonna get used to the helicopter doing something depending on your previous input. And that's really all hovering is. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something, and if it helped you out, let me know. It'd be awesome to see. If you like the video, please go ahead and leave a like on the video. Always awesome to see the feedback. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Feel free. I'll be able to answer most things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, take care.